Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town Council meeting of April 28th, 2014. Can you get a roll call, please?
Mr. Belton?
Here.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Mr. DeFalco?
Present.
Mr. Jones?
Present.
Can everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. May I have the verification notice, please?
This meeting is being held in compliance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws 1975, and certification is on file in the office of the Township Clerk.
Okay. Under communications, we have a proclamation here for Arbor Day, and I assume, Randy, you want to come accept that? I'll go ahead and read off this proclamation so everyone can hear it. It says, and by the way, this has passed, but we're doing it retroactively.
Yeah,
Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting of trees, and whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Richard DeFalco, Mayor of the City of Mount Holly, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 2014 as Arbor Day. So, this is the proclamation, and Randy, you can come up and accept this. And obviously, you can hang it and all that kind of fun stuff.
Thank you very much. I know we're doing it retroactively, but we did plant a lot of trees on, they'll be planted eventually on the mount, but right now my backyard is a tree nursery with over 1,000 trees and little pots in it. So they will be planted later, so we actually did do a planting for Arbor Day, just proclamations a little bit. Thank you.
We have another proclamation here for Gary W. White. This is for FOP, and Sherry, if you can, go ahead and have this mailed out to Gary. Okay. Also in communications, I'm just going to bring it up real quick. Ordinance number 2014-09 is being pulled from the agenda. I'm sorry, not 09, 2014-10. This is an ordinance amending the code of the Township of Mount Holly for the Historic Preservation District. It will be pulled for a second reading at the next meeting. So the next part of the agenda here is the approval of minutes of the March 14th, 2014 meeting. Does anybody have any changes, corrections for this?
I have none.
Jason?
No.
Okay, I have one quick correction on here. Under ordinance 2014-06, under the comments where it states, Mr. DeFalco notes that they are looking for a retail environment, which would include banks and or financial services. He does not want office space. I actually said office space, I don't want office space on the first floor. Okay. Office space will be permitted on second or floors above.
Gotcha.
Aside from that, I have no other corrections. Is there a action on the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the
Second.
March 14th meeting.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes. All right, next we have ordinances on second reading. Ordinance number 2014-09. An ordinance of the Township of Mount Holly adopting the West Rancocas Northwest Corner redevelopment plan and superseding portions of the amended West Rancocas redevelopment plan. This is a second, so there will be a public hearing on this. At this time, does council have any questions or comments on this? Or can I go ahead and open public?
I just wanted, I think last meeting I'd asked, just a brief cliff notes, because, I mean, this thing is obviously, goes back to well before our time. And just real briefly, is this the section that deals with the replacement housing, more or less? Or what's the difference, I guess?
Sort of the main purpose of this ordinance deals with the amendments as it relates to the affordable housing. There was an obligation to have Fernmore in the apartments under the redevelopment plan. Fernmore was going to have affordable housing. That's been eliminated from this in exchange for it. It had a value. As part of it, we have an agreement with Fernmore, and they are going to be constructing the first 4 replacement housings. So it's a savings to the township of close to $500,000, minimum between $400,000 and $500,000. Money that money certainly won't have to be bonded to finish the acquisition and reconstruction of the gardens area.
Okay. That was it. I was just looking for the Cliff Note version of that 20-page document.
Lou or Jason?
No.
Anything? All right, at this time, I'll open up feedback and comments from the public. Does anyone have any comments in regard to this ordinance? If you do, please raise your hand, and you can come up and state your first name, last name, and address for the record.
I was Joan Sweeney. My problem is I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Okay.
And I could hear on the way to
Okay. George, I just want to elaborate with the ordinance.
This ordinance relates to the West Rancocas redevelopment plan, or the gardens. And down there, as part of under the redevelopment agreement, redevelopment plan, the apartment builder, where the apartments are going up, had been required to put in, of the total number of units, it was 24, I believe, 24, 25 of those were to be affordable housing units. That's eliminated under this. The township doesn't have the need for that, and furthermore, under the terms of the settlement agreement and the naming the additional redeveloper, they're putting in units which will be affordable in nature. Not exactly the same type of deed restriction, but there wasn't a need for that. By eliminating this, as part of an agreement with Fernmore, they agreed to build 4 replacement units that the township was otherwise responsible for.
Right.
So it's an economic benefit to the township in that sense of close to $500,000.
With that being explained, does anyone have any comments or questions with this ordinance? Hearing none, I'll close the public portion. Hearing for that ordinance. Do I have action on ordinance number 2014-09?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2014-09 on second reading.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Abstain.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, before we move on to the next ordinance, I just wanted to make a note that the agenda has it for the minutes. I stated March because that's what the agenda said. I meant April. I'm sorry, I read it off. I just wanted to make sure it was corrected on the tape also.
Yep.
So it's approval for the April 14th meeting.
Yeah.
Gotcha, thank you.
Reflect
you.
that we voted on the April 14th minutes. Thanks. All right. Like mentioned earlier, ordinance 2014-10 was pulled from the agenda and will be discussed at the next meeting. Next, we have ordinance 2014-11. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the Township of Mount Holly, amending certain fees and supplementing ordinance 2014-05, approving the special events information packet. Again, this is on a second reading. So before I open up to the public, does anyone up here have any questions regarding this? No. Jason? No? Dwayne?
No.
All right, and for those of you who don't know the contents of this ordinance, this is an ordinance that defines for special events a reduction to the merchant fee that's charged by the township from $100 to $50 to have a vendor fee for a special event.
For none.
For non-food, yes.
And the insurance, was that?
1 second.
Good evening.
like I was saying, this is a reduction of the non-food vendor fee from 100 to 50. So at this time, I'll entertain a public portion of this ordinance, a public hearing on ordinance 2014-12. So if there's anyone here that has questions or comments on this ordinance, please raise your hand and come up to the microphone. Holly, come on up.
It's really far up here. Can we move it back?
Absolutely.
Creepy up there.
We got cooties up here.
No, it's not bad, but, you know. I just have a question about that because there was going to be a change to the requirements for insurance so that the vendors would be able to be under the blanket insurance for the event.
Okay.
Was that done?
No, that's not in the ordinance. This is specifically addressing the vendor fees. And I'm not sure if you're at the other meetings, but it was determined that we're going to change some of the language in the event packet so people understand what they need. But at the end of the day, the vendors are covered under whatever the event insurance is covered by. So if Main Street has an event and their insurance covers the vendors, if Mount Holly has an event, same difference.
Okay, because the last
Yeah.
time I saw that ordinance, that clause, that was not in there.
That was with the
It's
event
changed.
packet. The ordinance outlined the special events packet. but
Okay, this is going back to the original
This is-
ordinance?
Yeah.
That was, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
this only pertains to the fees.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anybody else have any comments or questions with the ordinance? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing of ordinance 2014-11. At this time, I'll entertain an action on the ordinance.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 21411 on second reading.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes. Ordinance passes. Last ordinance, we have ordinance number 2014-12. This is an ordinance of the Township of Mount Holly establishing that a business entity which makes political contribution to municipal candidates in excess of certain thresholds shall be limited in its ability to receive public contracts from the Township of Mount Holly. At this time, any members of council have any questions or comments on this ordinance?
Well, my only comment is that, like I stated in the last meeting, now that this council has changed this township to a partisan town, this pretty much is a moot point, seeing as how, the political parties will fund the elections. And an individual getting funds really doesn't matter if they have a political PAC behind them, and I'm just sorry that we lost the autonomy that we had to be a nonpartisan town, and that, the wisdom was to take it to a partisan town in the days where we had that, that nonpartisan flair is gone. So I think that this is kind of a moot point. But having said that, that's it.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I will open this up to a public hearing. Does anybody have any questions, comments on this ordinance? If so, raise your hand and come on up.
Michael Roth now, 33 Union Street. Piggybacking on what Dwayne said, I guess the question is, how does this affect a person's ability to contribute to a party in a given election cycle for the election? Like, someone can't contribute to the Rich DeFalco campaign, the max would be $300. But if Rich DeFalco is running with 2 other Democrats or 2 other Republicans, how does that affect his ability to contribute to the party with regard to pay to play?
Well, it's 2 each candidate a max, and I'm not sure, George, if you can explain better as far as it goes to the actual, I'm not sure, you mean
Are there
party,
restrictions
is it
on the
going
party
to-
contributions to the election?
No, no.
So you can contribute $1,000 to the Democratic Party or Republican Party to elect. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, up to the party's maximum.
If there is yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, so there really is no, so Mr. Belton is correct with regard to the mootness of the issue.
Careful there, Mike.
Laws to eliminate or make it illegal for someone who is not resident in this town to contribute to any aspect of controlling it. And so they don't have a direct interest, why should they have a right to make a comment or to leave it?
I'm sorry, I had a hard time hearing you. Could you, I mean, if you want to come up.
Come to the mic,
Yeah.
state his name.
Since this,
If you can, just state your first, last name, address for the record, please.
sure, my name is Jerome Sweeney, and my personal address too.
Whichever one you want to give, as long as it's in town.
I live right next door.
Okay.
Been here 45 years, that's not, right? I think if you don't live in this town, you should not have any right to contribute to any person who's running her office in this town, or an office in this town, because they don't have any immediate interest. It's like having John Jones from Chicago has a friend here. It's no big deal. He's a much bigger. What would like you guys to think about that? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing of ordinance 2014-12. At this time, I'll entertain action on the ordinance.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2014-12 on second reading.
Is there a second on that?
Oh, sorry.
A roll call, please.
Mr. Belton?
No.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes, ordinance passes. Next, we have the public portion of the meeting. Members of the public are invited to submit comments during the public comment portion of this meeting. The council, pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, will not publicly discuss personnel matters and may choose not to respond to comments made by members of the public during this portion of the meeting. However, the council will give all comments appropriate consideration and will refer all individual complaints to the township manager or appropriate township representative for resolution. Each citizen will be allotted up to 5 minutes to speak in order to allow everyone an opportunity to express their opinions or concerns. So at this time, I open up the floor to the public. If you have a question or a comment for the council, please kindly raise your hand. I'll call you one at a time, and you may approach the microphone. Good evening.
My name is Janet Reyes.
Mhm.
I live on Monroe Street, Mount Holly. My husband just had his leg amputated, so right now he's on an artificial leg. In my backyard's nothing but mud, so he's just learning how to walk on it with the walker and everything. I needed a handicap pole put in front of my house so he's able to get to the car.
It's been turned over for review.
How much longer will that be?
I would think probably by the next meeting, council.
The next meeting's about a month away, so he can't go out and do that until he gets approved.
Go out and bid, but
He can't because out back is nothing but mud. He can't slip.
Temporary, if you,
no, they have temporary looking for a parking space in front of the house.
Did you park at the park?
I can't park in the park because my backyard goes
Okay.
to the park and it's
Gotcha.
all mud. My yard
Gotcha.
is mud.
Okay.
I need him to be where he don't slip on the mud.
I'm not sure the status of the review, Mayor, but the council can give the chief authorization to take care of it in the event that there, of course, he has to go through the police have to go through it just like they would anyone else, and there is a procedure for that. But to the extent that the council wishes, and if they believe that there may be a possibility that this will be approved, you could give the chief the authority to approve it tonight if you wanted to.
I see no reason, looking at the initial application, that we wouldn't recommend it for approval. I know it's been measured out and everything it's measured it out and everything, so.
Okay, so we just did a motion to give a temporary handicap
Yeah,
spot for the day.
I could give the chief authority, once he completes it, to approve it prior to the next meeting so that there's no delay on
Yeah.
the citizen.
Not a problem.
Because he needs to go to the doctors and the only way out is through the front.
Understood. I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Have a roll call, please.
You have a second.
Mr. Belton?
I
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Mr. Jones,
I'll
Mr.
second.
Brown? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes. So what that means basically is the application has to go through which routine, but before, once it was approved, if it was approved, let's say tomorrow or 2 days from now, it had to come before council to get stamped approved. We basically given the approval today, so whenever the chief and the police do all that they have to do, they'll just seal it, give it to you, and you can go ahead and do it without having to come back before us.
Okay, there'll be a pole there that,
Yes.
Yes.
I still think Public Works will still have to get out there, of course, so that
Okay.
doesn't happen overnight, but at least.
Okay.
it's-
So you don't have to wait till the next
But
council
at least
meeting.
now it's expedited for you.
all right,
All right?
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good evening. Come on up.
My name is Robert McCann, 43 Washington Street. I've lived in Mount Holly since 1961. We raised a family here, own a home and a business, and have 2 daughters who own homes in Mount Holly. I have always thought Mount Holly was a very special place, mainly because it never changed. Mount Holly wasn't built by developers, it was built by thousands of people over a period of several hundred years. The expression of this council is even if eminent domain were used, compensation would be provided for the property. What if we're not looking for compensation and only want the freedom to live our lives in harmony? We have been presented a redevelopment plan investigation and the possibility of receiving state funding for the project. And as of yet, no one has discussed a specific plan on what will be done to accomplish this redevelopment venture. Rather than fix something that is working fairly well, why not apply for funding and call on the Army Corps of Engineers to solve the flooding problems in Mount Holly? That's basically it. Do you have any response on the flooding problem, or should we wait for that?
But the flooding problem, I can tell you right now, we've already engaged the Army Corps. Currently, right now, the Army Corps is on a stand-down, so to speak. They're not accepting any jobs right now. It requires federal intervention.
Right.
So our congressmen and senators need to go down to Washington to invoke the Army Corps to come back out here. I have personally been in touch with John Runyon, but he's also leaving in November, end of the year. This is his last term. But we will continue to reach out, because obviously flooding is a priority to try to resolve,
Right.
and it's not an overnight thing. It's a multi-million-dollar
I
project.
understand
Yeah.
that, but how long ago was this applied for? How long ago was the Army Corps of Engineers contacted?
Probably last year and again this year. So multiple times. Yeah.
Okay, but we've been facing a flooding problem since the turn of the century, yeah.
Absolutely, and actually, in my investigation and doing it, I've actually come up with documents that show, I forget what the year was, but it was many years ago, and Mount Holly in itself actually petitioned the Capitol for intervention, and we received funding to build what do you call it over there?
The dam there.
Not the dam. The spillway. The spillway. And that was federal money that went in, the Army Corps put in. But that's the last time that the Army Corps came in and did anything with the waterways over here.
Okay.
So finding all that documentation, trying to build a case up to bring back to our representatives so they can bring back to Washington. Hopefully they can get some money coming this way again. So it's on the radar.
Okay, I'll wait till the next meeting, I'll check with you again, see how we're doing on this.
Not a problem.
Okay,
All
thank you.
right, thanks. All right, anybody else? Jan? You have it up first. You're the winner.
Good evening, my name is Jan Myers. I own the property at 34 High Street and my business is Ed's Tailor Shop. I guess I didn't get the memo that the ordinance pertaining restriction for downtown businesses was the last meeting, am I correct? Or it's an ordinance that has already
The
passed?
B1 ordinance, modification of, yes, that was last meeting.
Okay. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
My first question is, did the township hire a professional consultant to review this ordinance with a projection of the positive or the ill effects that it might have on the downtown?
Quick answer is yes.
And what would that firm have been?
Multiple firms over the course of the years through 3 different studies that were done, all pointing towards modification of the downtown district.
Okay. Has it been considered, are there any legal repercussions if someone challenges this ordinance?
As far as I know. I mean, as long as we provide a spot where they can put their business.
I mean, it can always be challenged, that was the answer. You know, anybody can challenge it properly is the answer. So, but, you know, we're comfortable with pass muster.
Does the council feel that this message that they're sending to prospective business people that are exploring Mount Holly is a positive one?
Absolutely.
And when you say restriction, in itself it means reducing. So you're reducing the business opportunities. Obviously, you don't feel that way?
No. No. And actually, if you read the ordinance and you read the papers, it's clearly stated that what we're doing is we are removing the bail bonds, the mental health, self-help repair type of organizations, adding to the already existing restrictions that are downtown. So this is not a new ordinance. This is in addition to the already existing restrictions that are downtown. So what we're doing is freeing up those storefronts so we have new retail that's down there. Unless you like the bail bonds down there.
To be honest with you, I don't have a problem with the bail bondsmen. They're nothing but a type of insurance company. Personally, and a lot of businesses feel the same way I do, I'd rather see the building with something in it than vacant.
Okay.
I also want to know whether or not this is going to have any type of effect on businesses or property owners that are in the process of selling their business or their building. Be prior to this ordinance. No. It won't have anything to do with it. Okay. I guess that answers my questions then. Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you. Come on up. You're way too excited to come up here.
Michael McHale, 101 High Street. I have a couple questions about the car show, first of all.
Ask away.
What time is the street's going to be closed?
Registration starts at 11 o'clock, so I'd say what, Steve, like right around 11 o'clock?
Probably just about
Yeah.
11. I was going to bring this up under the manager, but I can bring it up now. I had a meeting last week with the county, got the approvals for it. We're trying to come up with a plan. We're actually talking about it today, because we know there's certain business services that we're going to try to work out I'll get with the businesses and we'll figure out how we're going to do it to get people into certain businesses. We have a couple ideas, but I'm not sold on all of them yet.
Well, that was my next question. Will Garden and Mill Street be open all the way through at the 11 o'clock closure?
Garden Street.
Will Garden go all the way through Rancocas?
No, Garden and Rancocas is going to be closed, starting over where Park Drive is to Garden at the intersection.
I mean, I don't quite see why they have to be closed.
Because there's going to be kids' rides that are going to be there and the stage is going to be put there. So it's essential for that event to be closed that day.
Well, that event doesn't start till what time?
At 2 o'clock.
Pardon me?
2 p.m.
So the streets will be closed 3 hours prior to
Correct.
the event?
Because the stages have to go into the roads, kids' activities and rides need to go into the roads, cars need to be parked in the roads, police barricades have to go up in the roads. Again, this happens every year, so this is...
Well, okay. I want to know, another question is, on the St. Patty's Day Parade, why did the streets stay closed after the road race, and they were empty for 3 hours between the time the road race ended and the parade started? I mean, you just might as well tell the businesses to close down for the day because nobody can get to us.
I'm not sure the conditions of the parade. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer for
I
you.
mean, the parking lots are empty. You couldn't even get into the parking lots here in town to walk any place. And the other thing too, the officer on the corner of Garden and Buttonwood, he wouldn't have let my customers ride down. I went out and talked to the officers on the corner of Garden and High 2 times, and they said he knows he's supposed to let them down. Now, it wasn't a Mount Holly officer, it was a county sheriff.
I have addressed that issue already after that was brought back to me later that evening, and that was supposed to be covered by one of my officers with specific instructions.
Now I have another question. This is about the ordinance last month. What happens if a business can't find a retail person to go into it and it stays empty? Into a storefront? If he's up for rent and it stays empty because he can't get a business to qualify for it.
You can't get a bail bonds business?
No, it just ain't bail bonds.
But that's what we added, so I'm just trying to get a little clarification. Everything that was in the ordinance already existed,
Okay.
so we added bail bonds into that.
No, we also took offices off.
Talking about office on the first floor.
Right, we took that out, we added that to the ordinance where you used to have professionals on the first floor, attorneys and professionals, so that, they're no longer allowed on the first floor.
I mean, in other words, I can rent this tomorrow to a lawyer, but you're saying, no, you can't. And now he's got to stay vacant for however long until a qualified person comes in. This is what you're telling the people?
Yes.
I mean, wow, you know, that doesn't, I don't want to make it say sense, but that piece of property becomes not too valuable since you can't rent it to anything, to what you want it to be rented for. Is that correct?
The consensus of council, correct.
Okay. Thank you, that's all I have.
We have anybody else? Mike?
Mike Rothwell, 33 Union Street. On Saturday, my wife and I, along with 16 TCNJ students, helped clear ivy from about 4 properties and also helped with redo the rain gardens so they could grow for another season. We're very tired. We felt it was important to go to the youth fundraiser that night, so we went. And Mr. Brown was there, and it struck me that despite the fact we had that fundraiser, I think the rest of the council should have been there to support something like that. And I think the new youth person who was hired should have been there, at least to introduce himself since it was for youth. And I think the way we show appreciation to volunteers is not just talking, but actually showing up. We don't have kids in the town that would use these activities, but we felt it was important to go. And I think if you're going to have a fundraiser like that and sponsor it, I think it's important to lead by example. I want to thank Mr. Brown for doing that, and I think it's very important for the rest of the council to do that when there's events that are being planned like that. And next time something like that happens, think about that, and please support the town when it's doing something.
Anybody else? Randy?
As I wasn't here at the last meeting, I just wanted to mention a few things from the environmental committee. This past Friday, we actually had a water festival at Falwell School for 4th graders. There were 12 very enthusiastic high school students from the environmental club that helped us out, along with 2 advisors from the high school. They ran one of the events, and the 6 of the students went around with each of the 6 groups of the 4th graders to each of the stations that we had. We had 7 TCNJ water students helping us out that day, as well as the local watershed ambassador, Jeff Richter, myself, and Nick Sedana on the committee. It was a fun-filled hour and a half assembly program. I got a lot of good feedback from the teachers as well as from the principal that they thought it went well. And the pictures are posted on a photo gallery on our Rancocas Valley High School webpage. I can get you the link. I didn't bring it with me. But it looked like everybody was taking some take-home message as far as water conservation, how to keep our waterways clean, don't litter, and how learning about what a watershed actually is and how water filters through soil and the importance of preventing erosion and a number of other activities, interactive activities, and they all went home with an activity book that is actually free through the DEP. As my husband already mentioned, we did have our TCNJ community engaged learning event also on Saturday, where we helped clear ivy from 6 houses that residents who live near the mount as part of the Restore the Mount project to try to prevent ivy from invading the mount once we get rid of it up there. And as part of that effort also, this coming Wednesday on April 30th is our next workshop, which will be at the Lyceum, the old Mount Holly Library. It's repelling and replacing invaders in your yard, where there will be a speaker from the New Jersey Invasive Species Strike Team speaking, followed by Catherine Renzi, who's from Yellow Spring Native Plant Nursery. So we'll talk about invasive plants, followed by how to replant native plants in your garden to replace invasive species. And the other thing I had mentioned, I think I had sent out a notice that there is a possible grant that one of the members on my committee would like to apply for. It's a Municipal Park Development Assistance Program grant, where we can develop a plan, a public access plan. It's for oceanfront, but also for tidal water, so that if we ever wanted to, look and also assess our tidal waters, and talking about flooding here, and this would go towards that a little bit, in that you would assess the Grand Cocos Creek area as far where might be able to put in having public access that won't increase any flood issues, but like either walkway or having a fishing ramp or even boating ramp. I know these ideas have been talked about, but this is basically trying to get money to actually try to put together a plan. We'll fund those plans, but at least we would have a plan on the books that we wanted to go forward. We try to get funding later to enhance our waterways along the Grand Cocos. It's a $25,000, possible of a $25,000 grant, and if the council would like, I guess we would need to have a resolution passed so we could get, come out and do the plan.
Yeah, send the information over.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Randy, what was the name of that grant?
It's the Municipal Park Development Assistance Program, and it's the Coastal Vulnerability Assessment, which they would then, that's the assessment part for the flooding. It's a DEP grant, and it is funded by NOAA.
Thanks, Randy. Anybody else have any comments? Alan?
Lorraine will watch that when she watches them all the time. I'm Ottawa, 121 Evergreen Street. First, I again would like to thank Lou, Mike Kaufman, and the Rec Association for the great job they did on the casino night. And actually everything the Rec Association's been doing, it's been great. And we really appreciate it in this town. Second, the comments that have come up about the downtown area on the restrictions that we put on there. I don't have a business downtown, but I know if I did, I do spend a lot of time downtown, I do appreciate this. I've been with Main Street for 8 years, and I think it was 5 years ago we tried to get council to do this, and the manager at the time turned us down to move forward with this. But to answer some of the comments, I know your idea, and maybe this was missed, but the idea is to make the downtown, or at least the High Street part of it, a walking area, so that the parking is more obvious to people. They can come into town, they can park, they come in for these events, and they walk downtown. And if you've been down there in the last few months, you'll see the increase of people that's been down there. It's warmer weather, but we now have downtown pizza down there. Levitas is open at night. Friday, Saturday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we have the Village Idiot is open. And he's getting tons of people all over the state coming in. So it is becoming more of a vibrant town. And the comments when I sit in these places and talk to these people that are from out of town, they want to walk, they want to shop Mount Holly, but they're not here to shop for bail bonds, and they're not here to shop for a lawyer, and they're not here to shop for those type of things. I talked to Miss Nancy for 45 minutes the other day. She's more than willing to move off High Street, and maybe we just need to help her find a spot. The guy across the street from her was more than willing to move upstairs if he can find someone to rent the downstairs. The comment about holding the landlords, whatever the word was. But the idea is the property owner is not the only one trying to help bring businesses into their properties. We have plenty of businesses down. There are empty buildings downtown that our UEZ is trying to work with. Josh has a list of all the properties, and they're out there. They're trying to be marketed. Main Street, is also doing the same thing. We've been talking to local businesses. One of the members of Main Street has actually gotten 2 or 3 businesses to come in to look for places, to look at opening up in the business. So I don't see this, I mean, I know you have comments and everything like that, but I see this as a positive. And the more we can get the downtown to be a walking area, the more people we're going to have in there, the more your business is going to appreciate it, because when they come to your door, they're going to come into your door, and they'll have a reason to be in town. So, thanks.
Thanks, Alan. Anybody else? Probably one more person out there. No? All right. I will close the public portion of the meeting, and we will go on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have resolution number 2014-73, endorsing Mount Holly Township application for a New Jersey Department of Transportation grant, application for a grant. 2014-74, it's participation in the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission's Transportation and Community Development Initiative of the grant program. Resolution number 2014-75, awarding a bid for Mill Dam Park improvements. These are the park improvements for Mill Dam Park. Resolution number 2014-76, this is authorizing the Land Use Board to review the proposed historic ordinance. So the ordinance, which is postponed to the next meeting, is being reviewed by the Planning Board prior to us hearing on it. And then we have obviously the approval of the department head reports. And at this time, if anyone has any questions or comments, bring them up. If not, do we have a action on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read by the mayor.
You got it third time.
Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes. Next, we have matters to be reported by the manager. Steve?
No.
Yep, I know you already said, but yeah, that's right. George?
I've got to report, Mr. Mayor, but I'm sorry that I missed the event on Saturday. I didn't get the time, and I actually had anniversary plans with my wife. Otherwise, I certainly would have been there, but I was glad to support it. And for the public's benefit, and I know Mr. Brown has done tremendous strides at the rec department, and we all know how much work he's done on that, but Mr. Rothmel made the comment in the public, and I'm not sure why the other council members can't be there, but I can assure the public how many calls the mayor and Mr. Jones made, and we'll know everybody worked hard on this, because I think that the public ought to know and get credit as to how much council did to support that event, even if they couldn't get there. I saw tons and tons of emails, and I was speaking with the mayor frequently about making sure they got the support, so even if they weren't there, I think the public ought to be aware of just how much the entire council did for that event.
Thanks, George. And again, thanks to everybody. This is Lou, Jones, Dwayne. We all did our part. Oh, that's it. Last piece. It's us, guys. Comments by us. Lou?
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who came out for our event. It was a great success. Alan, you did a great job helping us, setting up, putting things away. Once again, you came through for us. Really appreciate that. We had a great time in everything we did. Setting up, putting things away. The public was great coming out and helping us. It was a worthwhile event. And it's all for the children of Mount Holly, which basically what I came in this office to do is to bring recreation back to Mount Holly and have programs for the kids. I think through this casino night we cleared about $4,000, and we will be having other programs, and everything that we do free for the children of Mount Holly. Programs that we have done, we're going to keep doing it. We have more programs that will be coming, and I thank everybody for helping us out and participating in whatever anyone does, donations and whatever. But thank you very much. It was very successful. And like I say, everybody did a great job in helping us out in this. It's a community thing. So I appreciate everything. Okay.
I have nothing at all.
Lou? You good? Jason?
I'm good.
Dwayne?
Other than, Mike, I just want to address you because, normally I'm just about everywhere. I do deserve a mulligan every once in a while, especially when my wife's best friend is in town and wanted to go out. So, I can't be everywhere at one place, but I have to stay married. So she gets precedent, unfortunately, sometimes. Again, the folks, I'd like to thank My Place as a sponsor. Those folks are building the apartment complex over off of the bypass, and they jumped in right away and sponsored and want to become a part of this community. And it sounds like they're going to continue to be a good part of this community and a partner with us. So I'd like to thank those folks as a new sponsor to town, and I don't think we had to twist their arm to do it. I think they did it willingly. So, but everybody that worked with it, it is important that we get recreation back in town. It was one of the things that, as our budget crunches got, it's like the schools. It's the first thing that gets cut is the extracurricular activities, and we had to do that. And then, so it's good, as we found out, it's easier to recreate a child than it is to incarcerate a child. So if we can keep them doing something, and not having idle hands, then I think, I think it's very important. And I commend Mr. Brown and Mr. Jones for their reaching out and doing their job very well to build their recreation department. So I'd like to thank them. And as far as, the changes downtown go, we have, the ordinance that we talked about, the center of our corridor. It would be nice, if we could have stores that are open. I mean, I know we compete with the malls, and maybe that's how we lost Robin's Men's Shop and Gordon's Sporting Goods, and I'm not exactly sure, but as a kid, I remember going to get, my athletic equipment from Gordon's Sports Shop, and I remember, actually didn't buy the wide lapels at Robin's Men's Shop, but I stared at them at the window. And, we had a shoe store in town, and we had a lot of things in town. And as the economy hit us and people needed to keep their buildings, and so they rented. And I don't know that professionals are a bad idea, especially if they go out for lunch and they shop. We have an identity crisis, I think, right now that we need to, as a council, start to address. And then make that move, and to everybody that comes to these meetings will start to understand why it is some of the things that we're asking to do are being done. Whether I agree with how we do them, through eminent domain or any of those things, I think I have to agree that we have to define our identity and start changing. I mean, it takes a while to turn a big ship. But I think we have to start turning the ship if we want to survive as a community going forward. Whether it's restaurants, whether it's service, whether it's upscale housing along our waterway. I think we have to explore all of those possibilities. Keep the pieces of the puzzle that are shining, and the ones that aren't, then we need to make them fit. So, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet, as my grandmother used to say. But we need everybody to stay involved, stay positive, and, hey, recommend Mount Holly for a business. Recommend Mount Holly for whatever you do daily. Include Mount Holly in some of that. So just remember that we've been Mount Holly for a long time, and it has gone through some changes. And going forward, I don't think change is bad. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Dwayne. Well said.
Excuse me. I forgot a few names that I'd like to mention for recreation.
Absolutely.
Mike Kaufman. He was one of the greatest things that ever happened to us in recreation. He came out, he worked on this project of casino night for about 6 months. And he walked around this town and got all the promotions and sponsors that we needed. And he really did a great job. And the recreation crew that we have, they put so much time in, and it's just a great effort that can be done if you just get together and everybody joins together and becomes friends with each other, and the community comes together, which is what our plan is to be. And I think in the future, everyone will see that and everyone will come together, and everything that we do is for the children of Mount Holly. And we want the children of Mount Holly to grow up and make this town a better town. That's the main reason why we're working so hard at what we're working at. And like I say, Mike Kaufman was the key to what happened with the casino night, and he made a great effort. So I just want to mention his name. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lou. All right. Not to be overly redundant, because I think each and every member up here already expressed their thanks and gratitude that the Recreation Committee is doing, as well as the casino night. But there's one thing that we haven't done yet. Lou, you and the team is doing a great job, and I'd like to give a round of applause for you guys, because they actually have done a really good job. But seriously, $4,000 raised for recreation activities is great. That's huge. Apologize I couldn't be there, but it was, from what I can see in pictures and everything else, it was a great event. Dwayne, you mentioned Meat Place being a new business in town, contributing to the casino night. I just wanted to bring up, obviously everyone knows we got the car show on May 17th coming downtown. We have another partner right next to the Meat Place, Ryan Homes. They're here in town as well, selling townhomes, and they are sponsoring the car show, as well as some other local businesses like Miller Ford, All Risk, High Street Grill, and about 23 other businesses in town, raising about $20,000 so far for the car show. That's not what we get in the end. Obviously, there's a lot of expense to the car show, but I'm looking at the same way to put about $4,000 to $5,000 back in the recreation fund at the end of the event. So it should be a received event, a lot of activity going down there, and we do have a lot of businesses that are supporting our recreational activities in town. So stay tuned for more information on the car show. Again, that's May 17th. There's a lot going on that day. We got 10 bands, Radio Disney, Discovery Museum, a slew of other things going on. Lots of cars, a lot of eateries. The High Street Grill is expanding into the road for the day of. It's at 3 stages. But nonetheless, it's going to be a good day. Keep your prayers for good weather, because that can make or break guys coming out with their classic cars for the day. Aside from that, Dwayne, Alan, you guys had some good ballot points you brought up with downtown. We do have some recognition issues that we have to deal with, and we're doing our best to make sure that the town gets put back on the map, not just the label on the Weather Channel to find out what the conditions are. So that being said, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Motion's adjourned. Thanks for coming out, guys.